A man named Levon Cade was in his car when his alarm startled him awake. He wakes up and turns off his alarm. Rain is pouring outside. He proceeds to brush his teeth inside and leaves his truck, putting on a safety helmet. He then unlocks the gate into the Garcia family construction site. Standing by the gate, he observed the surroundings. After some time, the construction workers sit huddled, having some breakfast in the cold morning. A co-worker insists that Levon take a lunchbox, saying it was prepared specifically for him. He reluctantly accepts and thanks him. He then gives a speech about working hard and giving it their all. They make a huddle, then disperse to start working. Levon goes into the office. He greeted the others inside and proceeded to sign some paperwork. He enjoys the lighthearted teasing that Jenny, his boss's daughter, is giving her parents. She shows her father, Joe, a list of things she'll need for her celebration with her friends for finishing a semester. Joe sees the figure and jokingly asks if it's for her wedding. She told him that it is a semester break and it is a big milestone. They go back and forth about that, with him asking the others if it is really a thing. Jenny then finally told him to leave it, but it was clear she wasn't actually happy about it. Her mother told her father to just give it to her. He relents and gives her the sum she requested. As this was going on, Levon noticed a black car pulling up to the site through the window. He walks out into the construction site and finds two men beating and threatening one of the workers. He politely asks them to leave and let the guy get back to his work. They reply rudely, telling him that it was not his business. This made him angry and he decided to take matters into his hands. He throws a bucket full of sand onto their faces and starts attacking them with the bucket. He then beats them up with whatever tool he could find. Others started coming and he briefly glanced at them and continued his fight. He then pulls out a shotgun when their numbers increase and threatens to shoot one of them. He ordered them to leave before things got dirty, so they left. Jenny, who witnessed the scene, comes out to exclaim over his fighting skills and asks if that was from the military and if he will teach her. She tells him that her grandpa was a state trooper and taught her how to break fingers and track animals. She passes him food that her grandma made for him. He tells her that she didn't see anything and she replies, with, "Snitches get stitches." Later, Levon arrives to pick up his daughter, Mary, from her grandparents' house and sees a party out front. His daughter greets him excitedly and gets into the car. He hangs back a moment to speak with his father-in-law, Dr. Ross, who has custody of his daughter after his wife died. Levon asks what the occasion was, pointing to the party. His father-in-law simply told him Mary wanted to have friends over and he forgot that today was Levon's visiting date. Ross continued taunting him, blaming him for not being there for his wife. Levon tried to stop him, saying that they shouldn't get into that, but Ross continued telling him to let Mary stay there since he's an unsafe parent and is a killer. Levon tried to stop himself from reacting to not make his daughter sad. He then calmly went to the car and sat next to Mary. He asked Mary why her grandfather would throw a party when it was his visiting day, and Mary told him she didn't eat anything because she was waiting for him. He smiled at her and then decided to take her for lunch. During lunch, he gives his daughter a photograph of her late mother holding her. She tells him her grandfather has taken down all of her mother's pictures and that she was starting to forget what she looked like. He tells her she looks just like her and she expresses that she is angry with her mother for leaving them. He assures her that it's okay to feel that way and that he is hurting too. After this, he goes into a meeting with his lawyers regarding the custody case for his daughter. He told them what Ross was trying to do and complained about the party earlier. His lawyer told him that Ross is trying to make him violent so that he can use it against him. They inform him that the situation has worsened. They're trying to make it seem as if his history in the military means that he could be prone to violence. They ask him why his father-in-law resents him to this extent. He tells them it's because he believes he is responsible for his daughter's death, when, in reality, she committed suicide while he was deployed overseas after battling with depression her whole life. They tell him that the man has the finances to bleed him dry until he has nothing left. Levon had saved money, but he saved the money by not renting a place and sleeping in his car. The lawyers told him a judge wouldn't like the fact that he didn't have a permanent residence too. They advised him to negotiate with Ross, but he went against their advice and handed over money he had saved to continue the legal battle. Following this, Levon rents a rundown shack in an effort to show the court he has a residence and isn't living in his truck. That night, Jenny and her friends are out to celebrate. The girls are having fun and two people are recording them and following them into every establishment that they walk into. They go inside a bar. The bartender tells Jenny she can have the table she requested if she tells him her name. She replies with Jenny and he tells her his name is Johnny. She moves to the table with the girls and he immediately starts texting someone. The same man and woman who have been following them arrive at the bar. Her friend Nina appears nauseous and Jenny helps her to the bathroom. Jenny helps Nina while she is sick and leaves the bathroom to give her time to clean up. The woman gets out of a bathroom stall to follow her out and the man hiding behind a corner ambushes her and takes her out a back door and into a waiting van. While at work, Levon notices police officers coming out of Joe's office. Joe and his wife, Carla, tell Levon that their daughter has gone missing. Levon, shocked, asked what they meant by that and they told him she went out with her friends and she didn't come back after that. They know that the police won't look into these cases and plead with him to find her, but he tells them he has put that behind him. They reminded him how skilled he was and encouraged him to take on this role. They offer him 50 grand and more for expenses to find her, but he firmly turns it down, saying he's not that man anymore. After this, he goes to his old army buddy, Gunny, who lost his sight during an accident where Levon saved his life. After greetings, they sat to have a conversation. Gunny told him about his struggles, which Levon sympathized with. He apologized for not saving his eyes, but Gunny reminded him he saved his life. Gunny then asked about Jenny. Levon told him that she is amazing. Gunny advised him to give his everything to saving Jenny and that he doesn't need his permission to do something that he wants. They both laughed at this, and Levon finally decided to save Jenny. After this, he left Gunny's place and went to Joe's house. He found Joe staring at the picture of Jenny tied to a chair. He was drinking too and looked miserable. Joe told him that she declined a music scholarship to study economics. Levon then tells him they were like his family and that he will bring her home. He then picked up the liquor bottle that Joe was drinking from and tried to calm Joe. Later, Levon goes into the last bar Jenny went into and observes the bartender, Johnny. He does surveillance of the bar and finds a pearl from Jenny's necklace at the alley out back. He tracks the car and tails Johnny home. Inside his house, Johnny is smoking. He heard Levon get in, but before he could react, Levon was standing in front of him with a gun. He confronts Johnny and questions him about Jenny's whereabouts. He denies any knowledge and told him he told everything he knows to the police. But Levon didn't believe him. Since he was not able to get anything in peace, Levon uses forceful measures. He ducked Johnny's head under a tap, suffocating him with water. When Johnny was close to giving him information, some of his connections arrived. Levon goes out of the room using Johnny as a human shield and shoots both of the guys. He inspects the tattoo of one man and realizes they're Russian mafia. He grabs the cash they had strapped and leaves. Meanwhile, Jenny is sleeping on her side with her hands duct taped, talking to herself deliriously. She doesn't look fine and whatever she is saying doesn't make sense. The next day, Wolo Kolesnik arrives with 2 gang members while Levon sits to stake out the scene and records everything from his car. The men enter the residence and the boss accurately surmises that there was a third person who shot them and notes that all his money is gone. As this was happening, a van with a cleaning logo appeared, and they put the bodies, dismembered and wrapped in plastic, into a large container. Suddenly, Levon received a call from Mary telling him she was calling to say hello. After ending the call, Levon tails their car at a distance and they arrive at a mansion. He does reconnaissance in the area and waits for the right moment to make his move. He enters the residence and restrains Wolo to a chair hanging over the pool. When Wolo regains consciousness, he warns him that he's messing with the wrong people and tells him that he's a high-ranking officer in the Russian mafia. Unmoved by the man's threats, he questions him about Jenny's whereabouts. He refuses to give answers and starts screaming in Russian. He then releases the chair into the pool with him strapped to it, killing him instantly. He translates what the man was screaming in Russian and finds the name Dimi, who was tied to the kidnapping. A while later, another high-ranking member of the mafia, Yuri, arrives at the scene. He makes a remark to 2 of his men that while Wolo was a respected man, his son Dimi is not like him. He's not a businessman and he prefers mischief over hard work. He says that he spits on his father's heart every day and turns a frame with a picture of Wolo and Dimi face down. He orders his men to find the man responsible for Wolo's death. A woman wearing a mask and glasses comes into the room Jenny is in and places a paper bag in front of her. Jenny tells her the names of her parents and her name and that they've made a mistake. The woman replies to her that she is not real and indicates the room with her finger and says that's what is real. She warns her to keep her mouth shut and eat her food. Jenny cusses at her and the woman pulls out a gun and puts it to Jenny's neck. She asks her if she has seen anyone die before and how the light in their eyes clouds over. She gets up and leaves, ordering her yet again to eat her food. Jenny grabs the burger in the bag and takes a hungry bite. Levon calls an old friend of his in law enforcement and he asks him about their mutual friend, Gunny, and he tells him that he's happy. Levon asks him about a man named Dimi Kolesnik and to check if he has ties to human trafficking. His friend warns him that he's a high-ranking mafia boss and a dangerous man. He gives him a lead on a bar that has ties to the Russian mafia. That night, Levon visits the bar and one of the people in the surveillance room notices him. Dougie heads over to the bar and Levon covertly shows him a wad of cash and is led to the back of the room. The man in charge, Dutch, suspects that he's a cop when someone from the security room notifies him of her suspicion and orders him to turn out his pockets. He replies that he didn't come to be disrespected and Dutch motions to the patrons and they start to surround him. Levon looks around at the men surrounding him and says, "Alright, let's play." A fight ensues where he effectively handles everyone, rendering them ineffective. Dutch calls a halt just as he was about to kill someone with a broken beer bottle. He recognizes that he must have been in the military. Dutch offers to negotiate and Levon requests drugs and they arrange a deal. The next day, Levon meets with Dougie and Artemis and gives them a wad of cash. Artemis points a gun at him under the table and throws him a burner phone. They tell him to expect a call. He receives a call from Dutch and he tells him that the drugs are under the seat and he finds them under his car seat and he tells him to keep the burner phone. Levon throws the drugs over the bridge. They bring Jenny in the back of their car trunk and bring her inside in a suitcase. The client points out a case full of money and a bar of gold for the exchange. Artemis asks why he chose her and he tells them it was because she reminded him of a painting in one of his father's houses. He tells them to take her to the back and he goes to listen to her heartbeat through the case and comes out bloody, screaming at them that she was supposed to be asleep. Dutch calls him on the burner phone and asks if the clients liked his product. Levon replies that they were pleased with it. He tells him that he'll issue him an invite for a sit-down to meet with the leader and to wear a suit. Levon gets fitted for a suit and arrives at the classy place for the meet-up and greets Dutch before he sits at the table. Dutch asks him to pass the money and requests that he turn his phone off. The other man introduces himself as Dimmy and Levon replies that his name is Bill and Dimmy asks to see his driver's license to see if he's who he claims to be. Once he is satisfied, they proceed with the exchange and pass him a case of drugs. He shakes hands with Dimmy and concludes the deal. Levon disposes of the drugs afterwards. He notices the gang member Viper in the different pictures the girls took and he finds the man in Johnny's phone posing with him at Ratty's. He stakes out the bar and Artemis, sitting at the security surveillance, notices him and notifies backup. He sees the cars heading in his direction and jumps out of the truck. He gets on a bike and rides off. Several cars chase him into the woods and he manages to evade them but ends up crashing over a police cruiser and the officer on the gang's payroll knocks him out. He wakes up to see that he got captured by Yuri's men. While they transport him in a van, he grabs an opportunity to gain the upper hand and starts to fight them. He shoots the driver and the van capsizes and he manages to shoot them both. He pushes the van into the water to destroy the evidence. Yuri says farewell to his two sons and gives an order to convene the war council. Viper and the woman who kidnapped Jenny meet with Dimmy. He is extremely pissed that the girl they delivered had bitten off the man's cheek and that he required many stitches to reattach it. He was very pissed that they've lost him a lot of money and tells them that the client wants Jenny dead. The brothers gather at a round table and Yuri tells them that they're facing a devil that is targeting them and of the people he has killed. One of the men asks whether Dimmy knows the identity of the man. Yuri replies that Dimmy is hiding. The man calls over two of his subordinates and assures them that they'll help him find Dimmy. Yuri finds Dimmy in the club and informs him that his father was dead and that his sons were killed by the same man. He's shocked to learn the news and they show him a picture of Levon, and Dimmy realizes that he has met him. She leaves with a warning that he is hunting him. Dimmy shows them a copy he has made of Levon's license. Yuri's men find out his identity and go into his father-in-law's house. Levon receives a call that no one has picked up his daughter yet and he heads over to do so, and after she gets in the car, he asks her to locate her grandpa on her phone and she lets him know that he's at his house. They arrive to see the house engulfed in flames and he tells his daughter to stay put and walks into the burning house and rescues his father-in-law. They sit on the steps outside and he tells him they were looking for him and that it was his fault. As he's about to leave, he thanks him for saving his life. He leaves him to go to the hospital and tells him he will handle the matter himself. He takes his daughter to his friend Gunny's house so she can be safe. Gunny inquires about his plans and he replies that he plans to ask Dimmy where she is. They head into a room filled with weapons and he gives him a tour of them. He takes the weapon they used in the army. He loads up his car with 2 bags and his daughter tells him she's worried about him and he assures her he'll be back soon and leaves after he hands his daughter over to his care. Viper and Artemis transport Jenny with her laying down in the back of the car. Jenny starts praying out loud and Artemis turns in her seat and aims a gun at her, saying that God isn't here. She gets distracted talking to Viper and Jenny uses the opening to kick her arm at a painful angle. She viciously kicks Artemis in the passenger seat. In the commotion they hit a tree and the airbags deploy. She breaks the window and cuts the tape on her feet on the jagged edges. She opens the door and runs into the woods. She stops at one point to cut the tape on her wrists with a garrote wire wrapped around a wooden post and runs faster, gaining momentum. Artemis screams in anger when they realize they have lost her, saying they're going back to prison. Jenny jumps out in front of a police car in the street and flags it down, and the officer on the payroll assures her they'll get her home, and they take her right back into the hands of Viper and Artemis. They throw her into a shallow pond and are about to kill her when they receive a call from the man she injured. He asks for a meeting with her at the farmhouse for an even larger sum of money after he confirms that she's alive. He instructs them not to clean her up, telling them he wants her as she is now, dirty and alive. They agree to the meeting, appearing delighted at this news. Dimmy looks panicked, sitting with a bed full of money and talking deliriously to a woman sitting next to him. Levon goes into the hideout and meticulously takes out some of the security with a knife and then goes in guns blazing, taking out the rest of them. He shoots Dimmy in the hand that's holding the gun and questions him about Jenny. He gives him the location and they head out with him tied to the car. They arrive at the location. He asks him why it was her specifically and he replies that Viper goes out and takes pictures of pretty girls. He sends these to clients to make them choose and a meeting is arranged. He eliminates Dimmy and prepares to infiltrate the location. Dutch receives a notice about Levon taking out a lot of Russians and they arm themselves to go into Dimmy's tribe house. Viper and Artemis drag Jenny into an empty room and attach her cuffs to a chain hanging from the ceiling. Viper makes a remark about it not being personal and leaves the room. Artemis brings the man from a table he's playing at and into the room where Jenny is cuffed. She asks him what she has done to him and he replies that she hasn't done anything and that it is the best part. He picks up a large knife and tells her he wants to know what she looks like on the inside. Levon takes out all the lookouts and approaches the entrance. He throws a grenade at the entrance of the farmhouse and pandemonium ensues. He meticulously takes out everyone in his path and goes through the armed people, taking them out one by one. Dutch and his crew arrive and join in the fray. Levon fights with Dougie and uses him as a shield as Dutch comes in shooting. They fight hand to hand and Dutch gets killed by a knife to the neck. Levon goes upstairs and enters the room where Jenny is. He shoots the rich client and eliminates Viper. Meanwhile, Jenny strangles Artemis with her thighs while still chained to the ceiling. He tells her to stay behind him and they move out of the room. As they are about to leave, they encounter the two gang members that were helping Yuri. They were waving around large weapons and firing wildly. Levon aims his gun and uses a screen on his chest that shows the man's position and shoots him, and he throws a grenade at the other. He lays down his weapon and says a farewell. They walk outside and get on a bike to ride off. Yuri sees them leave and calls the mafia to inform them about it. The man replies that the devil has what he came for and to let him go. Yuri replies that he cannot turn the other cheek to the man that killed his sons. The man informs him that the Brotherhood comes before his personal vengeance, and he replies that he understands and hangs up the phone. He screams in grief and outrage. Levon brings Jenny home and reunites her with her family. They all rejoice in having her back. He comes into Gunny's house and receives a warm welcome. He joins them for a happy meal and enjoys a moment of peace after all the chaos.